Lilo and Stitch, easily the most successful film of the Disney's post-Renaissance, or I like to call it the experimental age. And the reason for this is one man. So yeah, this idea has been running all around his head for a very long time. It started off as a failed children's book pitch, probably because the design for Stitch, well, here looks pretty scary, I gotta admit. I can't imagine a kid not being freaked out by that. But yeah, over time, the idea got evolved, and when it was pitched to Disney, it was taking place in the middle of Kansas, where there was nothing really there except for, like, desert and stuff like that. They decided that a more unique setting with a barren setting would be island Hawaii, basically meaning they can get better colors and design, while also having a character be trapped there. And that's the main idea of Lilo and Stitch came to be. And this guy was such a big passion about this idea, I think he even voices the character of Stitch himself. And that dude is Chris Sanders, who at this time was working at the Disney studio and was approached by Michael Eisner to pitch an idea for a smaller film, sort of like in the vein of Dumbo. And of course, he had his idea since 1985. It's one of the few times where the director actually voices the character, the other one being The Incredibles. And of course, way back in the day, Mickey Mouse is voiced by Walt Disney, but that's beside the point. Having a film take place in Hawaii ended up being a really good call for the animators, because they actually ended up getting a lot of ideas when visiting the island for writing inspiration, including the main theme of the movie came from this one trip. The cultures and themes of the island that it takes place off are heavily influenced in this writing the story, and makes a very unique but very down-to-earth film. And especially when they got actors that actually are from Hawaii, they're able to rewrite the dialogue to match the theme. The film looks gorgeous, especially in the backgrounds. They went back to watercolor, which they haven't done in the Disney studio for a very long time, in order to make the film feel more tropical, and it looks gorgeous. This ocean theming even goes to the aliens and ship design themselves, so if you haven't noticed, they're actually shaped like fish, and all the other aliens have like shark-looking guys and other fish-looking creatures. They're actually pretty cool looking. Like, even the aliens in the film fit the Hawaiian theme. Like, that's pretty cool details. Now, this is pretty common knowledge, but Lilo and Stitch had originally a mostly different ending, with the fact that the characters hijack a plane and fly it through a city. Now, because of the recent events of 9/11, they had to change this, and I'm actually kind of glad they did, because in this version, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. To me, it makes sense for them to have a spaceship, since, they had to come to the planet. Like, why would they need to hijack a plane when they already have a spaceship? But, to me, it's super weird for the characters to even hijack a plane in the first place. Like, what were they thinking with this? Like, what the hell? They also fly into a nearby city on a different island, and the fat guy there has his ice cream still. This was changed to the mountains, which makes more sense for the fat guy to be there. I guess he flew over to the other island, but come on. His ice cream still gets destroyed in both versions. I wonder if he chose a different flavor, then maybe this wouldn't have happened. Maybe you didn't get mint chocolate chip all the time. Maybe you got some strawberry there, you wouldn't have your ice cream destroyed all the time, dude. When the film launched in 2002, it did good, however it didn't do great. It was the second highest grossing animated film of the year behind Ice Age, which this is way better than Ice Age. It showcased that the audiences were not really attracted to 2D animated films, but this one had one unique thing about it. Merchandising. Yeah, it turns out Lilo and Stitch was incredibly merchandisable. Still to this day, there's shit tons of merchandise on the shelf. And that really has to do with the character of Stitch himself, who has the Pikachu effect, which is why I call a character that both appeals to both men and women, or boys and girls, because he's kind of like a character that's really strong and powerful, but also really cute, so that appeals to both genders. Trust me, the amount of merchandise they put his face on is insane. Like, geez Moise. Like, if you go in the store, you're bound to find this blue guy's face on it. The only Disney character from this era that you'll see stuff for. Though no reason why this film did well is because it's really good. The best way for me to describe it, it feels like a Pixar movie, but done in 2D. Because it has a lot of the same feel as a Pixar film, it's more down-to-earth and based off characters rather than musical numbers or adventure stuff. It actually has a really grounded story about two sisters who had their parents die, so now the older sister, Nani, has to take care of her younger sister, Lilo. And try not to get separated by the government, who says the sister might not be fit to take care of the other sister. That's kind of an interesting plot point for a kid's movie. And of course they get a dog who turns out to be an alien. An alien who's a fugitive of the law. So the rest of the movie is kind of just a slice-of-life movie where they try to get along and try to do what's best, but it's kind of hard when you have a dysfunctional family, especially one with a homicidal alien dog. This film is about family and growth. All the characters basically have to grow throughout the film and learn about the meaning of family, or ohana. And it's done incredibly well. You like pretty much every single one of these characters. They're all well written and very unique. You don't see these type of characters in Disney films ever. Like, Stitch is a bad character at the beginning of the film. He's a complete asshole, but you kind of like that. Then you learn the reason he acts this way is because that's how he was programmed and made. He doesn't know any better, and eventually he learns about the film how to actually be a part of a family and not be a complete jackass to everybody. Though I think everything gets a little too neatly resolved in the end, like everything goes fine at the very end of the film. They're like, okay, you can stay here, Stitch, whatever, you're technically owned by these people, and they're not getting separated either, I guess. Okay. I mean, it's a happy ending, but it feels a little too happy for how realistic the rest of the film was. Like, the dude's like, okay, I won't separate you from your sister anymore because I guess I'm from the CIA, and yeah, okay. And nitpicks aside, it doesn't really matter. At least it's a nice ending. And you know what? I like this ending where Stitch has a giant lollipop in his mouth. I wanted that lollipop as a kid. I don't know why. I really wanted that lollipop. Also, there's this scene that they changed later on because she's hiding in the washing machine, and that's apparently bad for kids, so they changed it to a random pizza box thing. I don't know what the point of this was. Like, the rest of the film has all this stuff going on that's dangerous for kids, but apparently hiding in a washing machine is the hardest thing ever.
Not every year some ignorant kid takes a ride in a clothes dryer just like this.
Okay, so I guess this was a problem back in the day. Or still is, because Disney Plus changed it. Whatever. This is one of those times where I would say, go out and watch it, but if you haven't seen Lilo and Stitch, what are you doing? This is one of the most unique animated films I've seen, and definitely most unique film that Disney's ever released. And I mean that in the best way possible. The characters are unique, the art style's unique, the story's unique, it's just great. Oh, what else do I gotta say? Well, Nani's really hot, and yeah, that's about it. For some reason, this random lifeguard character has like 1 million images in Rule 34, despite the fact she's barely in the film for like less than a minute. Like, okay, I know she has big boobs, but we barely see her. Like, you guys are horny as hell.
She likes her butt and fancy hair.
So yes, Lilo's gone through her sister's diary and tells her crush that she thinks she's hot, and he doesn't care. He's like, yeah, she likes my hair? Doesn't mention the butt part. Unfortunately, there is no scene where I can really see David's butt to just clarify that's true, but whatever. So yeah, that's Lilo and Stitch. It's time to go on to how much crap they made of this movie. They did a lot. Lilo and Stitch has more sequels than any other film, really. 3 sequels in total. They have one direct sequel called Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch, about Stitch having a glitch. It's okay, I've seen it. There was Stitch the movie, which is basically just a pilot for this Lilo and Stitch TV series, where Lilo and Stitch becomes a Pokemon-like series with a bunch of other Stitches that are just Pokemon. So the next 2 movies that I mentioned were tied in the TV series, which, yes, there was a Lilo and Stitch TV series in the early 2000s, because that's how popular the movie was, and merchandise, and all the other crap. This ended with the movie called Leroy and Stitch, where an evil Stitch fights Stitch and all his other clone brothers and weird things. It was weird, let's just be honest. This looks weird. It was weird, but it was pretty cool, I guess. The most interesting thing about this show was that I created this another Stitch called Angel, which looks like Stitch, but a girl. And this character, despite not appearing in the main movie, is all over merchandise because, you know, female Stitch. What would you expect? And for some reason, they're remaking Lilo and Stitch. Why? Why would they do that? He looks awful. I just feel bad for Chris Sanders. He signed a contract where he has to voice Stitch and everything, which is fine, but imagine having to do the lines of the film that he originally created and had the concept for again. It's a shame. At least he has a good career. He did How to Train Your Dragon and that new Wild Robot movie, which hurts good. Maybe watch that one these days. Yeah, live action Lilo and Stitch is stupid. You notice how the only experimental film of the early 2000s they're remaking is the one that was popular? That doesn't need a remake? A Treasure Planet, I like it, but you know what? I feel like it could work for the remake. Atlanta, same thing. Probably could work for a remake. Lilo and Stitch, definitely wouldn't work for a remake. The one that doesn't need a remake, and guess what movie they're remaking? Lilo and Stitch. Fuck me. Think that's weird. Did you know there's an anime for Lilo and Stitch just called Stitch? Yeah, this exists. There's an anime for Lilo and Stitch. It exists. So some of you may know the anime of Lilo and Stitch, but did you know there was not an anime, but a Chinese version of Lilo and Stitch? Yeah, they made one for Japanese audiences and one for Chinese audiences. What the hell is going on here? Like, geez Louise. In case you're wondering, this is called Stitch in I guess. Whatever. It's, kind of weird that there's, like, foreign versions of Lilo and Stitch, but, you know, whatever. Alright, now for video games. Actually, quite a lot. So there's Lilo and Stitch was released on the GBA. No home console movie tie-in for this game, but there's a lot of other games, so don't worry about that, you console players. But yeah, this one actually looks pretty interesting and pretty fun, actually. The graphics look pretty fun, and it looks like the gameplay is also pretty fun. So yeah, let me know if you think it actually is, because I had never played the GBA Lilo and Stitch game. The most exciting one being Lilo and Stitch Pinball for the PC is definitely the game that everyone was waiting for. Well, it's pinball. What'd you expect? Hey, if you want a more interesting game, you got Lilo and Stitch on the PS1. Yes, they're still making exclusive PS1 games in 2002. PS2's been out for like 2 years at this point. GameCube and Xbox also out. And yeah, this game looks like a Crash Bandicoot clone. Nothing too exciting there. If you want another PC game, here's Lilo and Stitch Hawaiian Adventure, which is one of those activity center games where you do little mini games based off the movie with animations. I guess it's okay. Though, if you want to play a 3D platformer on a next-generation console, here you go. Disney's Stitch's Experiment 626 is a 3D platformer where you play as Stitch throughout aliens and planets. So it's like a little prequel there, I guess. Looks actually kind of neat. Like I said, I didn't grow up with the GameCube, so I never played this game, but it definitely looks interesting. I'll make sure to pick it up one of these days. Maybe. We'll see. Apparently, there's a Lilo and Stitch interactive DVD game, which, those are very vintage. Did anyone really play those? Like, I would have got one and then wasn't even that interesting to play. Whatever, there was a Lilo and Stitch one, apparently. The GBA game would get a sequel based off the TV series and all that other stuff, where, like I said, you play as Stitch, finding, I guess, your little brothers and cousins, or whatever you call them, all around the map. Like, this one also looks like it has pretty good controls and solid animations, so maybe I'll play this one of these days, if I get it. Now there's Stitch Jam on the Nintendo DS, if you couldn't tell by split screen. It's a rhythm game where you control Stitch, the bomb screen, and you press his movements based off the music. And one of the levels, he goes on a date with Angel. Isn't that wonderful? The game has a sequel outside of the US called, the same game but in Japanese. I'm not going to embarrass myself trying to say the title of the game. But yeah, the original game was also made in Japanese, because, they love their rhythm games. And I guess people didn't buy the original one in English enough for them to translate the second one into English. It's a shame. We're missing out all the great lore here. One of the least interesting games on this Lilo and Stitch games is a Candy Crush knockoff, or Bejeweled ripoff, if you will. We're just with Stitch. Wow. Exciting. It's not. It's for mobile devices, so who cares? When it comes to the Lilo and Stitch rides, there is one infamous one called Stitch's Great Escape that used to be at Tomorrowland. It replaced the popular alien encounter, and most guests just did not care for it. I remember it being really weird when I saw it as a kid and not really liking it. It was very quick, and the whole thing was just, he farts and burps in your face, and that's about it. Maybe it was better than I remembered, but it wasn't that great, and people saying it's terrible kind of shows that it wasn't that great, especially for a Lilo and Stitch attraction, which unfortunately closed down, and no one seemed to care that much. Wah wah. An actual attraction that's still up is called Stitch Encounter or Stitch Live, which is in multiple different Disney parks, not including the English-speaking ones, so like Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Paris. And basically just a Stitch that interacts with the audience. Yeah, that's about it. I've talked about the Enchanted Tiki Room in the past when it comes to Aladdin and Lion King, their overhaul of the ride. Well, Japan also had to overhaul the ride to have more Lilo and Stitch theming, where Stitch becomes in the center of the attraction and sings Hawaiian-themed songs. So yeah, the whole ride's now more Hawaiian-themed. However, this one fits a lot better than the under new management at Disney World, but whatever. It's neat. It's unique. Of course, I always like the original versions of rides, but this one at least looks like it fits the theming better than, the other one. Before I end and go to the rankings, I decided I had to mention the teaser trailers, which are some of the best advertisements for a movie that Disney's ever done, where Stitch will crash other Disney films with the original animation and voice actors. It's hilarious. Like, he literally steals Aladdin's girl here, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm a simp now. Oh man."
I was singing here.
Alright, to the rankings. As you can see, Lilo and Stitch goes in the S tier. It is pretty much a mostly flawless film. It's so unique, it's so charming, it's so just good to look at. It has a lot of things going. It's funny, it's smartly written, it's emotionally resonant. I don't know what more you want from a film, really. I think the ending is a little schlocky every time I watch it. It's like, I like the fact it's a happy ending, but at the same time, like, they really were playing the realism card for even those aliens and stuff like that in there. That seems like a little too well put together. Like, yeah, you guys all get together. That's fine. It doesn't really matter that much, but, at least it was a little better written, that one ending part. Like, they feel like they didn't really have much of an idea there. Okay, I guess you guys could stay together. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. I don't know why I'm even talking about it this much. When it comes to villains, the film doesn't really have a villain until the very end, where Captain Gantu, who is like a shark-looking guy, he's big. He has a cool design, but he doesn't have much presence. He's in the very beginning and the very end of the movie, and he's just the only guy who doesn't have any redeeming qualities, I guess. He's just mostly doing his job, but he guess he becomes more villainous in the later on in the series. But for here, it's not much. I could count other characters, but not really. The commander lady, not really. The Bubbles is not a villain either. You know, he does things that are kind of antagonistic, but that's not villainous. And the Stitch's creator, Jumbo, and Pleckley, I think that's his name, they're trying to get Stitch back, but in the end, they help them out. So, you know, not a whole lot of villains in this movie. The villain is society. Yes, Lilo and Stitch does have songs, however, only technically 2 that I can count, because the whole film is soundtrack is just Elvis songs, which is nice, however, it's not written for the film. They just took that from old 50s and 60s records, meaning that, you know, nothing's new is here for that regard. But however, there's technically 2 songs, and they're okay. They work in the film, but they're not ones that I would listen to by themselves, so that's why they're ranked pretty low on the list. One of them is Aloha E, which the scene is very emotional and very impactful, but the song is just, you know, it's a character thing. It's not really meant to, like, blow you away. Just like a nice moment between 2 characters. The song by itself is just, you know. And then Hawaiian Roller Coaster, which people know that one. It's fine. Doesn't do a whole lot for me. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the music. They're fine. They work in the movie, but outside the movie, I would not listen to them, if that makes any sense. And that's it for the rankings. For Lilo and Stitch, there's no princess ranking. There's no princesses here. And the songs are great. I don't know why I said the songs are great. The Elvis songs are great. The movie and characters are great, even though the ranking part is like, or ranking the movie, everything else seems a little low. You would think, S tier, but the 2 songs and the 1 villain are ranked kind of Well, yeah, everything else is good. If I ranked other things, they would be high up the list. Alright, you get it? You get it! Anyway, next film. And that film is Treasure Planet. I will see you whenever that comes out.